Hey everyone, so in this video we're going to cover matrix addition. Now if you're not familiar with what a matrix is, the different kinds of matrices, matrix notation, matrix order and so on, check out some of our other videos. So let's now dive straight into it. So on the screen you can see two matrices, right? The first one 2, 3, 8, 7, 1, 7. It's got 2 rows and 3 columns and I'm going to call it matrix A. So it's got an order 2 by 3, right? And you want to add to that the second matrix 1 minus 2 3 3 3 5 B, and as you can see it's got the same order 2 by 3. Okay, so what I'm going to do is call the sum of this matrix C, right? And so what you want to do is find the elements of C. Okay, so how do you do that? Let's start with the first element, right? So the first element here is 2, A11. You add to that B11, which is the first element of B, so it's 1. And that is C11, which is the first element of C. So in this case, 2 plus 1 is 3 is the first element of C, right? Does that make sense? Okay. So what you can see here is when you add two matrices, A and B, the corresponding element of C, so in this case C11, is basically the sum of the corresponding elements of A and B, right? A11 plus B11 is equal to C11, and that's why I've used this notation just to make it clear, right? Okay. Now what we're going to do is follow exactly the same procedure for each of the other elements, right, in the matrix to find the other C ij's, right? So C12, C13, C21, C22 and C23. Now you can either do this by going column by column, so go this way, or you can go row by row. I am going to go row by row in this case, right? So you've got C11. So the next thing you want to find out is C12. So A12 is 3, B12 is minus 2. So C12 is this plus this, which is 3 minus 2 is 1. Does that make sense? So again, you're adding the corresponding elements of A and B to get the corresponding ij of C. So you're basically adding the same ij's of A and B. And as you can see, A11 we have C11 we have already computed. So I've just left that there. Okay, so let's do the third element. So the next is A13. That's 8 plus 3 is C13, which is 11. Does that make sense? Okay, so now moving on to the second row, and so hopefully you can already figure this out, but let's go through the steps anyway. So now you have A21, B21, sum of that is C21, 7 plus 3, which is 10. C22, so it's A22, which is 1, B22, second row, second column is C22, 1 plus 3 is 4. And the last element, so you take A23, second row, third column, plus B23 is equal to C23. So 7 plus 5 is 12. And so what you've got is C is the sum of these two matrices, and C, as we've already done, I'm just showing you the full matrix. Each element of C is the sum of the corresponding elements of A and B. So C11 is A11 plus B11 and so on. So does that make sense? Okay, so now let's look at another case, right? Okay, so now you've got a matrix A here. You've got a matrix B here. What's the sum? What's the sum of this? Now the first question that should come to your mind is, okay, great, I've got A11, so I might be able to add this. A12, I might be able to add this, but then what about A13, right? You have 8 here, but there's no number here, right? So what do you do about that? Similarly, go here and there is no third row, right? So what happens to this term? So the answer is very simple. You cannot add these two matrices. So the matrix addition is not defined, right? So what this tells you is, to add two matrices, they should have the same size or the same order, right? So what I'm saying is, both those matrices, in this case, let's say this is A and this is B, they should have the same number of rows and the same number of columns, right, as each other. So they need to have the same order. So addition is only possible for matrices of the same order, The two matrices A and B should be such that they have the same number of rows and the same number of columns, right? And that does not mean that the matrices are square, right? I don't mean that A has to have the same number of rows as columns. I mean the number of rows in A should be the number of rows in B, right? And the number of columns in A should be the number of columns in B. Okay, so I've just given you a quick slide on just the way it would be for general matrices. So if you look at a matrix A, which I'm calling Aij m cross n, so you know the order is m by n. Matrix B, which I'm writing is Bij, order m by n. Then to find A plus B, which as we've called is C, is the matrices A plus B, which can be obtained by adding the corresponding elements. So this matrix is the sum, or the C matrix. Each element of that is basically the sum of the individual corresponding elements of A and B. That's what this is indicating. Okay, does that make sense? So let's try an example, and this will again clear your concept if it's not already. So what we want to do here is find C11 and C23, where C is the sum of these two matrices, right? So C11 meaning you want to find the first element here. So you take A11, add it to B11, that's 2 plus 0, and what you get is 2. Clear? Okay. Now what you need to find is C23. So 23 minus 2 plus 7, which is 5, right? Second row, third column. So now why don't you go ahead, pause the video if you want, and try to see if you can get it for all the other elements. Can you find, C12, C13, C21 and C22? Right? Pause the video for a second, try it out, and now I'm showing you the answer, right? So that's the sum of that. 3 plus 3 is 6, 5 minus 1 4, minus 5 minus 1 minus 6, 3 plus 1 4, and this we've already done, right? 7 minus 2 plus 7, 5. Okay. So now what about this case, right? I'm calling the matrix D. I just didn't want you to get confused between C and D. You've got this matrix here plus this matrix here. Can you find D11 and D23? And the answer is really simple. I've written it right here. The order of this is different. This is a 2 by 3 matrix. This is a 2 by 2 matrix. So you can't add them, right? Because what would happen to this term? What would this get added to? Nothing. There's nothing to add it with, right? Same thing with this term. So you can't add these matrices, right? Okay. So hopefully that makes sense. That's cleared up this for you. Now to kind of cement this, try out a quick test on TeachYaar.com. We've added this free quick test for you. And I've posted a screenshot of that here. To take the test, you can scan the QR code, right, which we've shown you here, or you can go to this link, and we've dropped the link in the comment section, also in the description. So please go and try it out. It's a fun test, and at the end of the test, you'll also get the solutions and a little learning from this test about adding matrices. And please subscribe to the TeachYaar YouTube channel so you can get notified as we add more content.